The past couple years have been an exciting time to be a Universal Orlando fan. Since as far back as 2019, we have been able to look towards the horizon of Universal's future for the next big thing. New rides, new attractions, and ultimately, a brand new theme park in 2025. Epic Universe, in a way, was the grand finale to the almost decade-long expansion that has shaped Universal Orlando into the vacation destination that it is now. But now that the theme park we've been looking forward to is finally open, what comes next? In this video, I want to talk about what I think the future of Universal Orlando's theme parks may look like in the next couple years. Work is already happening for future rides and attractions, and while I don't have any actual insider information to tell you what's coming next, I think it'd be fun to talk about some of the biggest theories going around and whether or not I think they're actually going to happen. Let's start with the easiest one to talk about, because as of recording this video, it's happening in front of our very eyes, which is the replacement of Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket. Rocket opened in 2009 and closed in August of 2025, holding the title of Universal Studios Florida's only major roller coaster for 16 years. But now that it's gone, what's next? I said in the top of this video that I don't have any insider info, which I don't, but come on. This one is pretty obvious. I am 99.9% sure that the replacement for Rip Ride Rocket is another roller coaster. In fact, if you were to go to City Walk and get to the second level of the Hard Rock Cafe, you can look over the demolition and see enough clues that point towards the construction of another roller coaster. And it makes sense. Universal Studios Florida needs a lot of things right now. I think personally it ranks at the bottom of the current Universal Orlando parks as far as overall enjoyment and ride quality, but it most importantly needs a coaster. The screen problem that people use as a complaint against Universal is strongest at this park, and they are in need of some serious variety. Also, a Universal park needs a coaster. Thrills and excitement are a major selling point of a Universal visit, and while it's in the minority, there are still a lot of people who visit each Universal park one day at a time, and you need to have some sort of big coaster at Universal Studios so that the experience there can compare to the other parks. So it being a coaster, I think, is extremely obvious. Now, the next question is, what is that coaster going to be? There have been two big running theories as to what the ride would be themed to. The first is Fast and Furious, and the second is Ghostbusters. Both have their own reasons as to why it makes sense, but I'm sorry, Ghostbusters fans, I think it's gonna be Fast and Furious. Really, the idea behind a Ghostbusters themed roller coaster was just a lot of wishful thinking. A lot of early buzz helped fuel this concept when Rocket was originally taken down, with them keeping the firehouse building intact, which used to house the original Ghostbusters show in the park. They've also gotten a lot more love in the past few years with haunted houses at Halloween Horror Nights and a permanent spot in the Mega Movie Parade. But that's really kinda it. There hasn't been a lot else on the Ghostbusters front, and honestly, as cool as it would seem to have the queue for a Ghostbusters themed roller coaster take you through the firehouse, and you're riding on an Ecto-1 through the streets of New York, I don't really think it's a franchise that works very well for that type of ride. You're not gonna see a lot of ghosts on a big outdoor roller coaster at 2 p.m., you know? Now, Fast and Furious is a much simpler concept and works very well for a roller coaster. In fact, it works so well, they're already building a Fast and Furious coaster at Universal Studios Hollywood, and I think that's what we're gonna get here. Some sort of copy of Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift that fits inside Universal Studios Florida. And look, as much as I would love a brand new, unique coaster, we gotta remember Universal, or more specifically Comcast, is a business. And they know that with the opening of Epic Universe, there are a lot more people visiting their resort. And there's also currently a roller coaster shaped hole in one of their theme parks. So the easiest way to fill that hole and do it quick is to transplant a roller coaster that's already been designed and getting worked on somewhere else. This would not be the first time Universal has copy pasted a ride from another park. There are currently 5 different Minion rides, 4 Transformers rides, 3 different Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journeys, 2 Incredible Hulks, and a partridge in a pear tree. you understand what I'm saying. And I don't expect it to have the exact same layout as the one in California, considering that one is currently being made on the side of a hill. But I do expect the same type of coaster technology, with a spinning car and certain key elements of the coaster, like a big upside down stall. I mean, it seems like they have more space to work with here in Florida, so it might actually end up being a bigger and better version of whatever Hollywood has, which would be a little mean considering they had it first, but it's honestly par for the course here in Florida. For us Universal fans, this is going to be the focus of our attention for the next few months, and I look forward to hopefully finding out soon what's going to replace Rip Ride Rocket. While we're talking about changes to Universal Studios Florida, I gotta talk about the big yellow elephant in the room. which is the Simpsons ride and the Springfield area of Universal. The Simpsons ride replaced the Back to the Future ride in 2008 and was a standalone hit for many years. This ride, believe it or not, is still one of the most popular rides in all of Universal. Then, to match with the immersive theme park land craze that came from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in 2010, Springfield was added to the park in 2013 to turn this corner of the park into a full-on Simpsons land. They added a Moe's where you can get a Duff beer, Fast Food Boulevard where you can get a Krusty Burger, and tons of fun photo ops and iconic Simpsons locations fans of the show could visit. Simpsons is a big deal, and it's also one of the big intellectual properties represented in the parks that Universal doesn't own. Simpsons is owned by Disney, kind of like Marvel over at Islands of Adventure, but there is a big difference between the two. Whenever Universal collaborates with an outside party to bring them into their theme parks, they come up with a contract, an agreement that allows Universal to use their characters in the park and build rides and such based off the IP. They do this all the time. Not every ride at Universal is a Universal movie. Harry Potter, Transformers, Men in Black are some of those to name a few, and so is Marvel and The Simpsons. The big difference, or at least the rumored difference, is that whenever the Marvel contract was made, this was made way back in the early 90s before the MCU and Marvel's mega popularity was ever a thing. So Universal was able to snag a pretty sweet deal that gave them the right to use and keep those characters forever. Simpsons, on the other hand, allegedly did not get that same treatment. Simpsons was a much more popular brand and didn't need to make such a crazy forever deal to get some extra cash. It's widely believed that the Simpsons contract only exists for 20 years, which would give Universal until about 2028 to keep them at the park, or get the contract renewed so they can stay longer. With the ride system being almost as old as the park itself, and Simpsons now in the hands of one of Universal's direct competitors, it would make total sense for the book to begin closing on Springfield. But will it actually? I think that yes. Simpsons will eventually go away, but not for a few more years. The land is still super popular even though theme park enthusiasts may find it dated, and with a brand new Simpsons movie coming in 2027, I think it's easier for Universal to just keep it at the park and ride off the popularity of the movie. This riding on coattails is something that happens with Marvel Superhero Island whenever a brand new Marvel movie comes out. This kind of stuff benefits Universal in the long run without them having to really do anything. And if they were to remove The Simpsons, it would involve a mass demolition of a ride in a theme park land at Universal Studios Florida, which, like we discussed, would not help the park that's hurting the most right now. So Simpsons stays for as long as it can, and hopefully, whenever this contract does end, Universal comes in fast and hard to replace it and build something even bigger and better than The Simpsons. But what's more popular than The Simpsons, you ask? I've got a suggestion. It's Nintendo! Super Nintendo World at Epic Universe, I think, is the beginning of a new generation here at Universal Orlando, where for the longest time, Potter was the big draw. But I think now it's gonna be Mario and Nintendo. If I had $1 for every Super Daddy-O shirt I've seen at Epic Universe, I could buy an express pass for everyone watching this video. Seriously, it is a major draw and I cannot wait to see Universal go full steam ahead with all of the many different characters and worlds from Nintendo video games that you can put in the park. If you go to Epic Universe, you feel the presence of Nintendo in the park. It's one of the first portals guests will come across when they enter the park, and it's also the only area that plays music from its own IP when you're standing in front of it. All the others have original music made for the park. There's also the Nintendo store outside of the portal because they know it's going to be so popular it gets its own mega store. This is the store with the super cool spinning coin Mario statue outside and the very pretty stained glass windows inside. When you go in, look up above and you'll see the characters featured in the adventures that you're going to have at Epic Universe. You got Mario, Peach, Donkey Kong, Bowser. These are all characters you'll see in person or on a ride inside Super Nintendo World. But there are some other stained glass characters. In the circle, you can also see Link, Princess Zelda, and Ganondorf from The Legend of Zelda represented. And even sections of that very store are themed to Zelda, and they also play the music. This for me right now is the Chekhov's gun of the future of Universal. If you don't know what that phrase means, it comes from a Russian playwright named Anton Chekhov. He basically said that if you introduce or show the audience something in a story, it has to be used to fulfill expectations. Everything has a purpose and is a deliberate choice, especially in a theme park. And I think this stained glass is an obvious hint as to what's next for the future of Nintendo at Universal. I think it only makes sense to see Legend of Zelda become a theme park land or a ride at Universal, but the part that's up in the air is where it could go. Me personally, I think it needs to go where Lost Continent is. This land is on the chopping block. There have been a lot of permits being discovered about major demolition happening at Universal, and a lot of the sleuths think it all points to Lost Continent. This area has only lost things since it opened with the park in 1999, and I can totally see this section going away in the next couple years. I think this is the perfect location for a Legend of Zelda expansion, and fits the adventure theme of Islands of Adventure. This would also split up Nintendo to another park, which could solve a potential issue of people only visiting Epic Universe to experience Nintendo. You get Mario at Epic, Zelda at Islands of Adventure, and Pokemon at Universal Studios. Yes, I didn't forget about Simpsons. We're replacing yellow with yellow at the studios, and Pokemon being at the park would be an incredible boost to Universal. And now, just like Harry Potter, if you want to visit Super Nintendo World, you gotta go to all 3 Universal parks. I think it's a smart business move, and Universal would absolutely love to do it like that, but this idea has a major roadblock: Nintendo itself. I obviously don't know this, but for some reason, Nintendo feels like a challenging business partner to work with. Nintendo as a company and a brand are very strict with their IP and even their innovation when it comes to new video game consoles. They create new ways to play and take very little outside feedback on how to do it. It's their way or the highway, which is fine because that's what got them to be the most successful video game company of all time. And when you're a major IP that Universal wants in their park, they are willing to put aside some conventional theme park wisdom to make their collaborators happy. You gotta be willing to bend over backwards a little bit to make Nintendo happy. Kinda like Universal did with J.K. Rowling many years ago to create Harry Potter, which obviously paid off. And Super Nintendo World paid off as well. It is a pretty incredible land, but a lot of casual theme park visitors have some mixed responses on big things in that park. Like Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, for example. I think Nintendo thought it would be really cool if the Mario Kart ride was actually like a slow, interactive augmented reality ride that is super video gamey and requires multiple ride-throughs to actually enjoy, but I don't think most park goers feel the same way. That, among many things in Super Nintendo, feel like a Nintendo decision versus a Universal one. And that's why I think there's a possibility that if Zelda shows up to Universal, it could actually end up being at Epic Universe as an expansion to Super Nintendo World. There are 2 things that entertain this theory. The first is the stained glass. It's showing off characters you can encounter in the park, and the Zelda characters have a good amount of representation in that shop. The second is this empty space inside Donkey Kong Country, which is already kind of like a mini portal inside Super Nintendo World. Based off of aerial pictures, these double doors lead to one of those big expansion pads at Epic Universe, and you could simply just build another mini portal to Hyrule from The Legend of Zelda there. After all, Zelda fits in the Super Nintendo World bubble. It is a Nintendo game, right? Personally, I hope it doesn't happen that way because 1, we would be losing a massive chunk of expansion to add to a land that's already pretty good, and 2, the other parks need it so much more. Unfortunately for you and I, and maybe Universal too, Nintendo gets what Nintendo wants. And if there's ever a future to expand into other Nintendo worlds, specifically Universal Studios Japan, I think both Universal and Nintendo would want to have something that could fit there too, and not make Zelda an American exclusive experience. But the truth is, we just don't really know when or where to expect a Nintendo expansion, so we will just have to wait and see. But on the topic of Epic Universe, I can't do this video without talking about the brand new park. There's a lot of excitement around this park right now, and a part of it is how much potential it has. This is only year 1 of 100 for this park, and with the expansion pads that we know about, it is very fun to think about what new worlds and rides we could be getting in the next couple years. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Epic Universe, but I think we're good on adding things to this brand new park, and we need to focus as much attention as possible to the 2 others. It's hard to say that because Epic is getting some mixed feedback already in certain areas. Capacity is a huge problem at that park. Most of the rides are experiencing really high wait times every day, and it's not because the park is busy. It's really not. Comcast has said so themselves. The problem is that there's only so much to do, and most of the rides in the park are not high capacity rides. Minecart Madness, the Donkey Kong roller coaster, is one of the most popular rides in the park and can get through maybe 1,000 riders an hour if it isn't breaking down all the time. And I totally understand and expect a new park having these ride reliability problems, but there are just enough rides at Epic Universe having challenges like this that can really mess up someone's day. So I agree that the park needs more to do to help even out crowds. I just don't think it's going to be a whole new portal with 3 big mega rides. I think for now, we could add 1 more big ride to Epic, and that'll help the place breathe a little easier. and I know exactly where that could go. Nintendo and Isla Burke don't need it. Those two worlds are the most fleshed out and don't need anything else. Potter needs another ride, and the world is clearly laid out in a way that shows that there will eventually be another one, but usually the Harry Potter rides bring more crowds than disperse them, and Battle with the Ministry is already doing a really good job at keeping thousands of people in line. Which leaves us the Dark Universe, a fan favorite world that is already 2 rides, but could maybe do with 1 more. A lot of fans have thought about the idea of a Creature from the Black Lagoon boat ride, using brand new water ride technology from Mach, a ride manufacturer who created the rocking boat ride system. It's this super cool boat ride that can accelerate, go in reverse, drop like a roller coaster. It looks like a ton of fun, and it's already planned to come to the US parks here at Dollywood in Tennessee. It's going to be called Night Flight, and it's going to be an indoor hybrid family coaster with this technology. So could we also get this at Epic Universe, please? Apart from it being a super cool ride system, this would also help with another issue this park has, which is a lack of indoor rides. You need a park with indoor rides in Florida because it rains all the time. This would be a great addition and round out this incredible park even more. And I also ask that when you build this ride, let's make the queue all on the first floor, please. No more stairs in this park. There are more than enough stairs in Super Nintendo World. I think we're good on stairs at Epic Universe. Truthfully, I think Epic Universe is a pretty fantastic park, as much as it can be, for a park that's really still just a baby. But adding a ride experience like that checks multiple boxes would truly help this place become more epic. And that, my friends, is what I think about the future of Universal Orlando in these next couple years. And once we start to find out more from Universal themselves, I think there's gonna be even more to talk about. But hopefully you guys like my thoughts, like where my brain is going for the future of Universal. Leave a comment down below on what you think the next couple years here at this wonderful place is gonna be like. But until then, I'm gonna get on out of here. Thank you guys for watching another VincentVision, and I will see you at the next one. Watch out.